Hello, everyone. Um, the topic I chose for our research video project is the invasive species of Texas. The reason I chose this because it sounded the most interesting to me about how individual animals actually affect our ecology versus something like global warming or like lack of water, which seems to be much more like broad. And so, yeah. So the content we're going today include the what are invasive species, uh, the most impactful invasive species currently here in Texas, how can we combat our invasive species, and a conclusion, putting it all together. So what are invasive species? Invasive species are species that are non-native to the ecosystem in which the introduction of results in economic, environmental, or human harm. Essentially what that means is that they're species that come from foreign lands, and when they're introduced, they can cause economic harm, whether it be through damage of agriculture, different goods similar to that, or infrastructure. Environmental harm can be taken as harm to the species already native to that land, or damage like the environment itself. And also human harm, which means that they can cause direct harm to us people. And so when invasive species thrive, it is often due to the abundance of resources available, with a lack of natural predators, competitors, or disease that would normally limit their reproduction. So this is essentially saying what makes up a species to be an invasive species. Um, and actually, a quick stat was that only 15% of the species introduced to a new land actually become invasive species due to how different the environment can be. However, when environment is favorable for these species, in terms such as maybe there's a lot of resources that are available for them, they can like there's a lot of food for them to consume, or they're able to make habitats based off the environment they're in combination with lack of competitors, or disease that will limit their production. So there's a lot of um, like in this scenario, there's a lot of what helps them reproduce, helps them thrive, and not of much as well like keeps it in check as it would in their like homelands. And we have invasive species can range from a variety of plants, insects, or animals originating from foreign lands. This kind of dips back into what I was just talking about, but uh, invasive species aren't just like single type of animal or single type of plant. It can range from different plants, insects, or animals. They can be avian or terrestrial, aquatic, and such. And so each pose a different threat to our environment. All right. And so continuing on, we have the most impactful species in Texas. Based off the research I've done, I found that these three are the ones that most commonly pop up. First, we have feral hogs. Feral hogs are domesticated pigs that escaped or were released. Most of the time, when they escape from like the farms, or when they're released for hunting purposes. And um, they cause widespread damage to crops, habitats, and compete with wildlife and livestock. Then we have zebra mussels. Zebra mussels are native to Western Asia. They have spread across the Great Lakes. They hurt wildlife, damage boats and infrastructure, and can even threaten water supply. The way this happens because when there's too many of zebra mussels in a certain place, and if it's by like a water treatment plant or water supply chain, they can actually clog up the pipes and such of those chains, leading to maintenance being needed, or even cause like infiltration of like like, like contaminants because they just clog it up so much. Then we have giant salvinia. Giant salvinia is one of the most dangerous invasive species of aquatic plants currently here in Texas. It grows and replaces native plants which provide food for native animals, meaning so instead of just outright, like let's say destroying the ecosystem or destroying the other plants itself, it kind of makes it nudges the other plants away and makes their own. Like they fill in the gap that they create, and also because giant Salvinia is a free-flowing plant that tend to, when they reproduce massively, they tend to cover the majority of the top layer of the lake, which doesn't allow light to get through, like the under plants. Their plants are like a little bit lower in the lake, and also cut off a lot of nutrients to make the remaining of like species living in whatever lake they reside in. And going forward, we have these species distribution. Each graph or map tells you where they're most located at. Starting with the feral hogs. As you can see, feral like Texas is almost completely inhabited by feral hogs, which makes this such a huge problem when it comes to like agriculture and farming, as hogs do tend to burrow through the land whenever searching for food or whenever forming like burrows for their young to live in. Then we have like zebra mussels. Again, you can see that they look where the zebra mussels are mostly found on like bodies of water around Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, and Waco, where the like most like tourism occurs. And John Savinia tends to be most towards like a little bit more towards the coast and like eastern part of Texas, and those type of or like body waters connected through the sea. And how to combat invasive species. So Texas has an initiative called the Clean, Drain, and Dry. It aims to reduce the spread of aquatic invasive species such as the zebra mussels in giant Slovenia, as these invasive species and other like it tend to attach themselves to boats and other equipment, which essentially hitch a ride until the next body of water. So by first cleaning your boat and equipment, then completely draining it of any water, and letting it dry before entering another body of water, it significantly reduces the spread or the likelihood that there's an invasive species on your boat or on your equipment and reintroducing them to for more lakes. Furthermore, there is a fine for transporting these type of species that can be up to $500, which serves as a incentive to go through the effort of cleaning, draining, and drying all your stuff. And for hogs, Texas has designated feral hogs as an unprotected species due to their highly invasive nature. So meaning that there are no restriction on bag limits, season, light hours, or method of take. To break that down a little bit more, that means that you for feral hogs, there's no limit to how many you can hunt, when in the season you can hunt, what time of the day you can hunt them. You can hunt them in the middle of the night or in the middle of the day, and also method of take. There's any way you can hunt feral hogs is allowed. The only one rule that it's important to mention is that whenever hunting any type of animal or any type of species here in Texas, you do require a hunting license if it is on public Texas land. However, if you are hunting in private land, there's there's no real requirement to have anything of that such. And so, conclusion: invasive species are a significant issue affecting Texas ecology. They deal massive financial and environmental damage. Some of the most destructive invasive species currently consist of the feral hogs, zebra mussels, and giant Slovenia. It is important to combat these species through the different initiatives pushed forward by the state of Texas, such as the um, clean, dry, and clean, drain, and dry, such as the clean, drain, and dry, and taking advantage of the open laws for like feral hogs and other animals that they fall under the unprotected state. These are my references, and thank you for going through this life.